All right, guys, I've recently got my hands on the Steam Deck that you're looking at here, and today's video is all about the Steam Deck versus the Nintendo Switch. So the Steam Deck here is basically a portable PC in your hands with a lot of power into it, where not only can it run Steam OS, where you can run all your Steam games on it, it has a full Linux operating system inside, so you can go ahead and play games through a Linux desktop, and also you can even install a full-blown Windows PC on it. So there's a lot to get into with this device as far as comparing it to the Nintendo Switch with the games, with the social features, with what games play on which, and the control layout that you're looking at here, and the features on there, the SD card slot, and how that functions between the Nintendo Switch, and what differences there are between the both of them. And there's a lot to get into on the Steam Deck here, as you're looking at here, that they do a lot of things well, but some of the things not as well as what the Nintendo Switch can do. And with this Nintendo Switch that we're talking about, of course, it is the OLED model. So does OLED make a big difference? Does it actually make games look a lot nicer on the screen compared to the Steam Deck screen? Even though they use a very similar screen size, they're both 7 inches. They're both running games at 720p. So it's kind of similar with how their screens are being looked at. But is the OLED going to make a big difference when you're playing games, and is it going to matter to you? So we're going to get into all of that on both of these, the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch, to show you guys exactly how these actually look and perform, and which one is better for you based on the games you play, the games on each of them, and what I think overall I'm on both of these. So let's go ahead and get into today's video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
So today we're here to talk about, of course, the Nintendo Switch OLED versus the Steam Deck. So you can see the Steam Deck here on the left and the Switch OLED there on the right. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is the difference between size and weight on both of these. The Steam Deck here weighs 669 grams, as you're looking at here. And then the Switch on this side weighs about 422 grams. And as far as the size, obviously the Steam Deck is a very thick console, as you're looking at there when you look at the thickness of this console here compared to the other one. The frame on this console here is 49 millimeters thick, so it's definitely a big boy. And then you got the Switch OLED here, where it's only 14 millimeters thick. You can tell very easily here that one is much thicker than the other. Looking at them both side by side, of course, you can see that they both have analog sticks, obviously in different positions. You got the Steam Deck here with them on the top, and these are a little bit off-centered like that, but they both have analog sticks. This has the digital D-pad over here, and the D-pad over here for the Steam Deck. Of course, they have the 4 face buttons there as well. This has the start and select buttons there, and the Switch has them up there with the minus and the plus sign. This has a home button here. The Steam Deck has the home button basically as their Steam Deck button. On the Steam Deck, of course, you do get extra buttons, which is cool. You got these interface buttons here, like a little mouse pad / touch interface here, which is nice. So you can go ahead and just kind of slide around and move it like a mouse cursor when you need to for different FPS games, or sometimes using Windows and stuff like that. And you can see the Steam Deck also has the grills of the speakers right in front here, so that allows the Steam Deck to be much better in sound quality. And if we turn the Steam Deck around, you can see we have the trigger and the top button there. And if we turn the Switch around here, you can see it has the same thing, but of course the buttons are a lot smaller on it, as you're looking at there. And this has 2 extra buttons on either side that you can map to whatever you want in game. So there's definitely more flexibility on how you want these games to work on the Steam Deck, with the extra 4 buttons on the back, and then these touch interfaces here. Definitely a lot more input options than there would be on the Switch. Looking at both of these side by side when it comes to the screen quality, of course the Nintendo Switch here on the bottom has an OLED screen, and the Steam Deck has an LCD screen. They both are doing 720p though when it comes to playing games, so they're both going to run the games at 720p, so they'll be exactly the same. But of course there is a very big difference with the OLED screen versus the LCD screen, which we're going to be showing off a couple of games here so you guys can kind of tell exactly how these look. So for example, if I were to launch the same game on both of them, so here are both of these games running on both of them. So let's take an up close and personal look on both real quick. So here is the Switch OLED. You can see how good that looks there. You can see the reds, you can see the blue and stuff like that, and how good the screen looks. And this may be a little hard to come across on screen, but hopefully it's doing its job. But then when you look at the Horizon Chase Turbo on here, the colors are just a little bit more dull. So the red on the the red over here is not popping out as much, and let's see if this helps a little bit. You can see the red there is not popping out as much as the OLED on the bottom. You can see the OLED on the bottom there, the red is just a little bit more vibrant red, even the blue in the background, and just everything looks a little bit more vibrant, which is exactly what an OLED screen does. It just makes the colors pop off the screen. So you can tell when you put them side by side like this, but that doesn't mean that the Steam Deck screen is all of a sudden just not good. It just means that if you put them side by this, the OLED screen is definitely better. And of course, if there was a Steam Deck 2, we all want an OLED on it. But like I said, the screen on the Steam Deck is really good, as you can tell on both. It's just, not exactly as good. Let's go ahead and do another comparison of another screenshot here. So here's another example here on Rocket League. So you can tell right here, this is actually even more easily tellable on screen because I'm looking through the camera, and I can tell really easily too that the OLED orange down here is a lot more orange and vibrant than the top orange car. So look at this up close there, and look at that over there, how that looks there with the OLED, and how the Steam Deck looks right there. So you can definitely tell there's a difference, that this one definitely pops off the screen more. It's a lot more orange, a lot more vibrant. And yeah, you can tell that there's no denying that the OLED screen is definitely better because it's an OLED on the Switch than it would be on the Steam Deck. But I'll say again, that doesn't make the Steam Deck bad. If you didn't have these side by side and never saw an OLED, you probably wouldn't even notice, because obviously this car is still orange on the Steam Deck. It's just not as vibrant as what an OLED screen will get you. So let's talk about the battery life on both of these here. As you guys are looking at here, this is the Switch one, and the battery life on this, you get about 4.5 to 6 hours on a single charge on this. So on the OLED model, they definitely improved the battery life compared to the original Switch, and now you get, like I said, you get 4.5 hours to 6. It just depends on how heavy the game is. 4.5 hours leading to things like Breath of the Wild, and if you're playing more simple games like Horizon Chase Turbo and stuff, you're going to get closer to 6 hours or more. So battery life is really good on the Switch, especially for how thin this device actually is. When it comes to the Steam Deck here, that's kind of where it falters. You can see here that there are some options that you can play with to make the battery last longer. But you can see here at 95% charge, that 6 hours is definitely not going to happen. That's just what it was saying, because I'm staring at nothing right now. We all wish it got that much. Basically, what you're going to get is anywhere from 1.5 to 4 hours. And that 4 hours is going to be really hard to hit. 1.5 hours is going to be games where you're running at a full 60 FPS. And, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, stuff like that. Full PC, games that are on here running at full blast at 60 FPS. Now, the good thing is that if you're on a trip or something, you want to make it last longer while you're running a game, you can come into these quick settings and kind of turn the FPS off down here and limit it to 30, so you can get more, more battery life, essentially. So it will last longer than the 1.5 hours. But if you run it at full blast, full brightness, 60 FPS for all the games, the more powerful ones are definitely going to sit at about 1.5 hours. Again, if you lower it down to 30, then of course you'll get more than that. And if you're playing games that are not as demanding, like other games like Rocket League and some of the simple games like Horizon Chase Turbo, you'll get closer to that 4 hour mark. But it's definitely not going to be anywhere near as good as the Switch, and there's no denying that. The other thing with these models is the Steam Deck comes in 3 variations: 64 gig, 256, and a 512, and an expandable SD card slot that's sitting right there at the bottom. And the OLED Switch also comes with an expandable storage slot on the OLED model. You could just lift this up right here, and you can see the micro SD card slot goes in right there, right underneath the kickstand. Now, what I really like about the Steam Deck, though, that the Switch can't compare to, which is going to make switching SD card slots into this thing a lot easier. So this is my library, right? You guys can see that there's 38 games installed right now in this library. So if I pop this SD card slot out, just like that, boom, goes down to 18, right? You see that it went down to 18, and now only the games that are actually installed internally are there. Boom. Now, let's say I put another SD card slot in there. I go ahead and I push this back in. Boom, the 18 now turned to 38. It found the other games on there. So it makes the switching of SD cards so much easier, because you could just, for example, keep like A through M on one SD card and then the rest of them on the other card, and it makes switching really, really easy. Because the games just appear and go as you see fit, which is awesome. On the Switch, you can do the same thing, but it requires a lot more pain in the ass work, essentially. Where if I wanted to switch this SD card slot out right now, I have to power the unit off, completely power it off, take the SD card slot out, and then put the other SD card slot in. And the interface is not as nice, because basically what it does is even if you take the SD card slot out and you're rotating them, the games that were on the other SD card will still stay on the screen. It's just going to have a cloud icon that telling you to basically download it again because it doesn't see it, which is fine. It still works, but it's not as clean as actually what I like the Steam Deck doing, where it removes the games completely, so you know, hey, it's not in this SD card slot. Download it if you want by going into your library and downloading it, but what's installed is installed. So I like that there's a differentiation, separation there compared to the Switch. So they can both do it, but it's definitely a lot easier on the Steam Deck. The other thing we got to talk about is, of course, the social features of a platform, and hands down, the Steam Deck is way better than what the Switch has ever done so far, even though the Steam Deck has just literally came out, and it's probably going to get better and better over time when it comes to social features. But, on here, when you click on a game, for example, you can come onto here, you can see exactly how much time you've played, you can see all the achievements that you have on there, you can look at your stuff, there's your achievements right there, so you can see exactly what you're looking at. You can trade cards like we all know about Steam Deck. You can go ahead and click on the community tab and see all the community content. You can even download mod support on this thing. You can see all this stuff. You can even go to the community hub and kind of have like a forum discussion on exactly the game that you're looking at. It tells you exactly what every game has, like remote play and stuff like that, which is awesome. Of course, you have your friends list over here that you can just come over here and look at your friends list there. Click on someone, send them a message, get into a group message, so you can message people a bunch and kind of have conversations that way. You can easily open up a voice chat and start voice chatting with a bunch of people no matter what game you're actually playing. It doesn't even matter if you're playing the same game. All that kind of stuff that the Steam is known for is all here. And this has a built-in microphone, so you can just talk to people. All the games that normally would support voice chat and PC games supports voice chat on here with a built-in microphone. You can connect a Bluetooth headset if you want to and do it that way. All the options are there that you wouldn't get on the Switch. So if I bring the Switch over, we all know what the Switch is like. If you want a voice chat on the Switch, you have very limited capabilities because right now, there's only a handful like Fortnite and stuff that actually have their own service built in where you can actually voice chat by using either a Bluetooth headset that supports it or something like that to be able to voice chat. But there's no built-in microphone that's readily available on this unit. And even so, it's just a handful of games that actually have to have it because Nintendo wants you to use their Nintendo app. So all their first-party exclusives are using this first-party app on the iPhone and Android that no one actually uses. So basically, there is no voice chat because you can't go into a match like Mario Kart and actually see people using voice chat in the app because just no one's doing it. So it's unfortunate we can't ever voice chat on there. It's not as clean. Most of the games on the Switch do not support voice chat at all, and the handful that do, you have to have obviously a Bluetooth headset for. There's no built-in microphone support and all that stuff. Obviously, the invite system where you can invite people into games is definitely better on the Steam Deck because you have all the capabilities to invite people on there very easily. On here, they finally did add the ability to actually invite people onto your Switch, but not every game supports it because they added it so late, so it's not as easy. But it is still there. But overall, you can't compare the Switch social features to what the Steam Deck can do. It's hands over fist between the voice chat, between messaging friends and voice chatting friends no matter what game you're actually playing, all the games supporting voice chat that are supposed to support voice chat. All that stuff is all there. Built-in microphone as compared to the Switch. Hands down, social features wins on the Steam Deck. And the thing to talk about now is the library on both of these units here. So, of course, the idea and the biggest difference between both of these is that the Steam Deck is a much more powerful piece of hardware. It's running games that the Switch could never run. But the Switch, of course, is also running an NVIDIA Tegra chip that will also, do games pretty well. They're both using the 720p screens that I was talking about. And you'll see some multi-platform games on both, like Rocket League and stuff that you're seeing here. But you won't be able to run them as nicely as you will on the Steam Deck. So on the Steam Deck, you're going to be able to play those same games that you maybe had on the Switch, but Rocket League is going to perform at a much better graphic fidelity. So the games are going to look way better, even if they're multi-platform. And as we get older and older, of course, the Switch right now is already losing out to multi-platform games. So if I look at my library here, of course, this being a full PC, you can see games that are on here that you'll never get on the Nintendo Switch. So you have things like Marvel's Avengers, Battlefront 2, Street Fighter 5, Call of Duty Black Ops, Madden 22, and this is just scratching the surface, Horizon, Elden Ring, of course, games that you're never obviously going to see running on the Nintendo Switch because it's just not powerful enough to do it. The Steam Deck is multiple times as powerful as what the Steam Deck, as what the Nintendo Switch can do. So there's no comparison when it comes to the actual power of both of these units. Everything is going to look better on the Steam Deck than it will ever will on the Nintendo Switch, even if they're multi-platform games that are on both. So if you want the higher quality fidelity, Steam Deck easily wins. Now, when it comes to libraries, of course, that's going to depend on what you're looking for. This is, of course, a PC platform, so all the games that are on the Steam platform on PC are going to be able to play on there really easily. The Nintendo Switch, obviously, is its own console and has its own first-party exclusives. You're not going to see first-party exclusives on here. It's just going to be everything that you can play on Steam on PC. Nintendo Switch is going to have their own first-party exclusives that a lot of people are going to care about, like Mario Kart, like Splatoon, like Zelda, and all that stuff. So you're not going to be able to play those games on the Steam Deck unless if you do some things like emulation, which you shouldn't do unless if you own the game anyway, because you need to support these third-party these developers in general. But essentially, you're not going to be able to run, if you care about exclusives, obviously the Nintendo Switch is going to lean towards that way. Alright guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of a comparison of the Nintendo Switch and the Steam Deck. Of course, there's still more that I want to talk about here at the end of this video with my final thoughts on this. For those of you guys who are wondering which one to get, I mean, it's obviously going to come down to personal preference. If you're a person who is a PC gamer already, it's going to be fantastic to come home and basically use your PC where the games are going to look better because you're going to have a more powerful GPU. You're going to be able to play those games, and then when you leave your home or you're in bed and stuff and you're not in front of your PC, you can grab the Steam Deck and exactly where you left off, because the cloud saves, you're going to be able to continue playing your games exactly where you left off, no matter where you are. So it makes it easy to basically come home to your console, being your PC, play those games at really the highest fidelity you can, and then kind of leave your house or be in bed and continue playing it on a portable that is also really, really good. But the Nintendo Switch, of course, is going to have exclusives, and you're not going to be able to play those games natively on the Steam Deck unless if you do some stuff that we talked about before. But even then, you're not going to be able to play most of those games online. So even if you emulate those games, you're not going to be able to play some of those games online and stuff like that, like Splatoon and Mario Kart, where I think the most fun comes is playing those games online anyway. But Mario Kart and Splatoon and all those exclusives that we're used to are obviously only going to be on the Switch. So you're going to want to get the Switch if that's what you're looking for. And the Switch OLED screen is amazing. It looks a lot better when you compare games side by side. And I wish the Steam Deck had it, even though the screen on it is still really good. But you can definitely tell them side by side as somebody who owns both that the OLED screen definitely is much more vibrant in colors. It's no different than what the original Switch is to the OLED. It's just really, really easily noticeable. But one of the other things that a lot of people don't talk about, and why, for me personally, I will always have both, is because the Nintendo Switch is my local multiplayer machine. So going forward right now, the way I picture me using my Steam Deck and my Nintendo Switch is I'm going to buy every game that exists on Steam. So I'm not going to be buying multi-platform games anymore on the Nintendo Switch because now I have a handheld that can do it. And I'm going to have better social features like we talked about before to easily play with friends and voice chat and all that stuff. So if a Horizon Chase Turbo or a Rocket League comes out tomorrow and there are both PC and Nintendo Switch, I'm always going to choose the PC because now I can play it on PC in high fidelity, grab it on the portable, still play really well, and grab it on the go and continue playing that way. So that's always going to be the case for me now. My multi-platform games will always be on the Steam Deck. And of course, my exclusives on the Nintendo Switch will be, of course, on the Nintendo Switch. But there is one caveat to that a lot of people aren't thinking about, and that is when it comes to local multiplayer. So for the most part already, my Nintendo Switch is my local multiplayer machine. I love the Switch for that, and that has not been taken down by the Steam Deck at all. I can easily take my Nintendo Switch when people come over, like 3 or 4 people come over, pop it on the dock in 5 seconds, it's up on the screen, I can pull these 2 controllers out in 2 seconds, grab a couple of controllers, it easily, of course, already recognizes it and ready to go to play local multiplayer games. Games like Towerfall, games like Move or Die, that I just talked about and did a recent video on. There's so many good games on there besides just first-party games that are also good local multiplayer games, but just other local multiplayer games that are also fantastic that are going to be, for 4 players or sometimes for even 8 players. So when it comes to games like that, like if there's a game like Towerfall or there's a game that is 4 players like Move or Die, I'm going to buy it on the Nintendo Switch instead of the Steam Deck because my Steam Deck is going to be multi-platform games, but it also has to support online play. If it's strictly on local multiplayer games, it's going to be on the Nintendo Switch where I choose to buy it because of the ease of use. Now, yes, theoretically, you could take the Steam Deck and plug it into a TV. You can get some dongles here from the USB-C to an HDMI, plug it into your TV, HDMI that way, and dock it that way, and then kind of use Bluetooth and pair 4 Xbox controllers to it, and basically have the similar experience. But nothing beats how easy it is to do it on the Nintendo Switch with these controllers that pop out, and the fact that it goes up to 8 players for some of these games. And then of course there's local wireless play, which I just did a video on a couple days ago on the Nintendo Switch with my top 20 favorite local wireless games on the Switch, because that's something that the Steam Deck can't do. So I can take my Switch to a cabin or on vacation and stuff where there is no internet, and I have 3 other friends there that we all own a copy of Mario Kart, and we can still play the game locally together on each of our Switches and be able to play the game with no internet at all, something that the Steam Deck can't do. So it's going to make me definitely keep purchasing local multiplayer games and local wireless games on the Switch, because I love that part of the Switch, and that's why I've done so many videos on that stuff, because I love having friends over and playing, you know, multiplayer games. So the Steam Deck and the Switch are obviously going to have a place in my life, and they're not going anywhere. That's probably not a surprise to most of you guys, considering that I love technology and gaming in general on this channel. But you know, obviously I'll be playing my single-player games and my multi-platform games and multiplayer games that are online, specifically on the Steam Deck. And of course, when it comes to local multiplayer and local wireless and first-party games, I'll of course continue doing those videos on the Switch. So there'll be a lot of videos coming out on both of these on the channel, as there always has been, so that's not going anywhere. And something else we didn't even talk about at the start of this video that definitely leans towards the Steam Deck, because I haven't gotten into it yet, I'll be making a separate video on it, is don't forget you can run a full-blown desktop on the Steam Deck, so that obviously is a big advantage over the Nintendo Switch. Well, natively, you can go ahead and get into a Linux desktop and go ahead and get in there and download a bunch of stuff and have mod support for games and stuff like that. All that stuff is available if you know Linux. And on top of that, Steam is actually supporting installing Windows. Now, I haven't installed Windows yet on here because I'm waiting for them to let you dual boot, and once that comes out, I'll be doing a special video just for that, on how to dual boot and how that works and installing it, so we can play even more games that are not just on Steam OS, but Microsoft Game Pass games and all that stuff that I'm looking forward to trying and can't wait to do. So we have a lot to go for. This is the beginning line for the Steam Deck as far as all the things it can do. And there's going to be a lot more videos coming out on that, of course, in the future when it comes to installing Windows and stuff. But there's definitely a lot more you can do with the Steam Deck than you can do with the Nintendo Switch. But it's going to come down to, at the end of the day, games and what games you actually want to play. So hopefully this video gives you guys a good overview on what you guys can expect and give you an idea of what you guys should do if you're leaning towards the Steam Deck or the Nintendo Switch and you're trying to make up your mind. Hopefully that helps you guys out with my opinions and the facts on some of the stuff that I gave you on how both of these systems work and how I'm going to use them going forward. Maybe it gives you guys some ideas on how to use yours going forward if you also have both of them. And I'll be doing a lot more videos on the Steam Deck, of course, so make sure you leave your comments down below on what type of videos you guys want to see. Next, whether it be game videos to see how they run and how they work and all that kind of stuff, and whatever videos you guys want to see on the Steam Deck, definitely leave those down below, because I'll be making a ton of videos going forward on this thing. So if you guys have any other questions about what you guys saw in today's video, as always, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Until next time.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech going